What's going on, guys? So you decided to join the Army and you're curious what it is that you actually learn in red phase at basic training. So today's video is going to be a very high, just informational video where I'm going to be talking to you guys and reading you off a whole bunch of stuff, kind of like what I did whenever I made my video on what red phase is like, where I basically just read off what we did every single day at basic training during red phase. If you missed that video, if I can remember, I'm going to link that up for you guys right now. But what I want to cover in this video is the things that you actually learn and are taught from the drill sergeants at basic training. So from day one until the end of red phase, what are some of the things that you're going to learn during those few weeks? In this video, I'm going to try and cover them as quickly as possible while still actually talking about them. A couple of these topics that I'm going to talk about right now are definitely, at least one of them are going to have their own dedicated video, which I am working on. So just to get it off the table, some of the things that you're going to kind of teach yourself just real quick is things like the Soldier's Creed, the Army Song, the General Orders, the chain of command, all the way up from the president all the way down to your platoon, drill sergeant or whatever, just all the way down to the company level, all the way up to the president of the United States and all of the generals that are there, the TRADOC commander, TRADOC command sergeant major. You're gonna have to remember those, just everything. You're gonna learn the chain of command. That's gonna be really important. In the first day of basic training, you don't really do much as far as learning. It's basically just paperwork and you're getting your gear and everything. But it's not until the next day, day two, usually, where you're going to be learning the first thing, and that is the Army's way of doing PT. So you're going to learn the preparation drill, the different conditioning drills, you'll learn the climbing drills, all during the mornings of red phase. So that's kind of what PT is going to be dedicated to, the first few PT sessions that you have, and that's going to be learning the Army's way of doing PT. So the preparation drill, if you want to look this up on your own, I'm definitely not going to demonstrate it because you look kind of stupid when you're doing this. But there's definitely, I'm sure, videos on YouTube, and you can Google the different workouts. The preparation drill, the conditioning drill, the climbing drills, and as well as the conditioning drills, conditioning drill 1 and 2, and there are also several others. But you will learn all of those the first week or so at basic training. During the first week of basic training, or the first 2 weeks actually, you're going to have a lot of classroom time, and during that time you're going to get a whole bunch of different instructions on different classes such as EO and SHARP. And EO is equal opportunity, which is basically kind of like don't be racist to somebody else. SHARP is basically sexual assault, sexual harassment, what not to do there. You're also going to get an OPSEC training, which is Operation Security, which is basically don't post on social media when you're about to do a mission, or just anything that could basically give the enemy away any sort of information about what's going on right now. So that's kind of what Operation Security is. You're going to have a training on that. One of the next trainings you'll have, it could be the first training, I don't know, it'll just depend on the order that you go in, is BRM training, which is Basic Rifle Marksmanship Training. And that is basically going to be where they're going to be teaching you about the M16, so you're going to learn how to take apart and put together an M16. I did make a video where I showed you guys how to take apart an M16. I didn't make one put it back together because if you saw that video, you know why. But I do have an assault rifle or an AR-15 myself now, so I should be able to make a video on taking it apart and put it together and showing you guys, maybe different little tricks on how to put it together fast, take it apart fast, different things like that, because you're going to get tested on taking it apart and putting it together for time at basic training for a part of the end of red phase test. So first off, you're going to learn some of the basics about the M16 or the M4, whichever one you're using. For me, at my basic training, we use the M16. So I have the paper right here. You learn basic information about the weapon. So it's 9.08 pounds without a sling. If you add a sling is 0.4 ounces apparently, or 0.4 pounds. And then an M16 with a 30-round magazine is 10.09 pounds. The maximum effective range of an M16 is 3,100 meters. So I made a mistake. So when I made this video, I am about to say that the maximum effective point target range of an M16 is 800 meters. That is wrong. it is actually 600 meters, and the maximum effective area target range of an M16 is 800 meters. I read that off without actually looking at the notes because I didn't have that on my notes. I was going off of a terrible memory apparently, but the way I explain a point target is still the same. An area target at 800 meters is basically, think of it as a group of people walking down a road. That's basically how you can think of an area target, maybe a car or something like that. Bigger than a person. Point target, person. I'm going to explain it to you all right now. The maximum effective point target range of an M16 is 800 meters. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm kind of going to teach you guys this real quick. Whenever they say the maximum effective range, that is basically like if there's a huge just area that you're shooting at, the bullet is not, you're going to be able to aim like that far out. It's going to be, you know, really, really far, but technically you could kill somebody at that distance if you shot them from 3,100 meters. So that's what it's talking about, maximum effective range. It's not necessarily going to be engaging in combat at that far away with the M16, but you could technically kill somebody. The maximum effective point target range, which is 800 meters, that is basically you're aiming at a person, you're aiming at somebody, like an actual target. You're not kind of just aiming in general direction, kind of hoping, you know, there's enemies over there, we'll just shoot a couple and hopefully we'll kill somebody, but you'll never actually know whenever with a 3,000 freaking meters away. But 800 meters, that's going to be your point target range for the M16. So along with your training on the M16, you're also going to learn the different mechanical sequences of the M16. So basically when you fire a round, what specifically is actually going on, and that is feeding, chambering, locking, firing, unlocking, extracting, ejecting, and cocking. So that is basically, you feed a round to the chamber, the round is chambered, the chamber locks, you fire, it unlocks, the extractor pulls the round out, it ejects it, and then you recock another round into the chamber, and the whole process starts over again. So that is basically what that is, and you will have to know that. I believe that was on our red phase test, and I did talk about that in that red phase video that I talked about before. And finally, you're going to learn the 3 shooting positions whenever you're going to be shooting at the range. That's going to be the prone supported, the prone unsupported, and the kneeling position. The difference between the 2 prone positions is the prone unsupported and the prone supported, you're going to basically have, you're going to have a sandbag under the barrel, and that is going to be supporting the weapon itself. So you don't technically have to use your hands at all to fire the weapon. What you should be able to do is have the weapon on there, have it pressed up against your shoulder, and without using your hands, the weapon should still stay there. So it's prone supported. Prone unsupported, there's no sandbag or anything. You're using your hands to actually hold the weapon up. And then the kneeling position is pretty self-explanatory. You're in the kneeling position. So you will never qualify standing up, like ever. You just don't qualify standing up. One of the next big major things you're going to learn is combatives. And basically it's just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's pretty much the basics, right? So if you have done, I would say 1 month, 2 months, 3 months especially of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training, you're going to know more than what they're going to teach you at basic training. They're just going to teach you basic guard positions, maybe like an arm bar or a key lock or something like that. Just super, super basic stuff. But they should and will teach you some combatives at basic training in red phase. And I mean, it would be kind of cool, like if you could, like I said, just take some lessons. Maybe you know somebody who knows Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Maybe you could take a couple lessons with them. I taught my brothers some stuff every time I learned some things whenever I was doing MMA. And just like that basic knowledge, like you don't have to be an expert at really anything in the Army. I just feel like just being that little bit prepared, so things aren't, when you're getting taught something, it's not the first time you've heard it, so you're not like totally lost in the sauce whenever they're teaching you how to do an arm bar or a key lock or the different full guard positions and everything. So you kind of know what you're doing, and maybe you can actually beat some people, you know, and I think that would be kind of cool. It's cool for me, might be cool for you too. Before I move on to the next topic, I did forget to mention one thing that has to do with your weapon, and that is sports. That is an acronym for slap, pull, observe, release, tap, and squeeze. And that is basically the sequence that you're going to go through every single time something happens to your weapon when you're firing it. So if something jams, if for some reason you're firing, something just messes up with your weapon, that's going to be the sequence that you go through whenever you are trying to figure out and clear out something out of the chamber of your weapon. Make sure all the ammo is good to go, fix that, and you can start shooting again. This is something that sounds really simple. You slap the magazine, you pull the charging handle to look into the chamber to see if there was maybe a double feed or the round just got jammed up in there somehow. You check the chamber, so that's observe. You clear it out, release the charging handle, and you tap the forward assist and squeeze the trigger. If I said that out of order, I am sorry. But basically, I have it kind of down, like you just kind of do it. So if you're firing at the range, it's really important, because if your weapon jams, you want to be able to perform sports as fast as possible so that you can get your weapon unjammed and able to fire again. So have a functioning weapon again without being able to miss so many pop-up targets going down. Because at the range, you're going to have these pop-up targets and they're on a timer. So you only have so many seconds, like it's 3 to 5 or 6 seconds, I think. I'm not sure. But you have a few seconds to shoot the target, and if your weapon jams in that time, so you're shooting the target, your weapon jams, you've basically got 3 to 5 seconds to fix your weapon and get it firing again so you don't miss the next target, because that'll tend to happen to people who are not good at sports. Their weapon jams and they're just like, oh crap, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do? And before you know it, they've missed 2, 3, 4 freaking targets, and that just sucks. So the big thing that I've talked about with you guys, and the thing that I definitely want to make a video for you guys super soon, I've been talking about it for a little bit, but I feel it's coming up soon, guys, which is Land Nav. You're going to learn Land Nav, how to do it, and you're going to perform it during red phase of basic training. And Land Nav consists of not only map reading, you're going to learn what the different things are on the map. So like when you look at a map, it just doesn't look crazy to you. You can actually understand. You're going to learn like these contour lines and what they mean, the different colors on the map and what they mean. You're going to learn plotting distances and stuff like that, plotting your points. You're going to learn things like if you don't know where you're at, but you know where 2 points are at on the map, so you know their coordinates, then you're going to learn how to figure out where your location is. Likewise, if you know where you're at and another position is at, as far as the grid goes, latitude, longitude, those 8 digits that you're going to have, and you don't know where another point is, you're going to be able to learn how to figure out where that point is at, and that is called intersection and resection. And that's a pretty interesting and it's slightly a little bit more advanced tactic, but I do want to explain to you guys not only the basics of Land Nav, so like plotting the points on the map, and you have to get that right, but in my video I might split it up into 2 parts, which will be actually plotting the points and then learning some of the things that you're also going to learn at basic training, which is the 5 major terrain features, the minor terrain features, and the supplementary terrain features. Basically, I can show you guys what those are kind of on a map. Maybe if I can find one of the maps that I've actually used, I can demonstrate to you guys what it's actually going to look like when you're at basic training, and I think that'll help you guys out a lot whenever you actually get there, so you're not totally lost in the sauce, lost in the freaking woods when you're doing Land Nav, especially at night, because being lost at night, I mean, it's really dark. It's just, and it kind of sucks. So don't get lost. If you watched my video on what red phase is like, you're gonna know that during red phase, you're gonna go to the gas chamber, and to go into the gas chamber, you have to have a gas mask. Now, in the military, they're not just gonna hand you some equipment and be like, here, use this. They're actually gonna teach you how to use it. So how to actually properly don and clear the mask, which is put on the mask and clear it, so that if there is any chemicals in the air, you can blow all that out so that you can actually breathe again, right? So you're gonna learn how to don and clear your gas mask. So it's basically, that's the basics of the gas mask. You're also gonna learn about CBRN, which is chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. So that's what CBRN stands for, otherwise known as CBRN. You're gonna have a class on that, and that is, I mean, it's kind of, you learn it, you kind of, all you really need to know is what CBRN stands for, and then some of the basics of it at basic training. Now, in real life, you kind of need to know this stuff, because if you're in a situation where there's a chemical attack and you don't know how to put on your gas mask, or you don't know, different things like the gas sign, first of all, don't ever do that if you're on like a base or somewhere. Like, I mean, if I'm in uniform and I do that, that's not good. So you're going to learn the basics of stuff at basic training, but don't get too caught up on everything. All you really need to know at basic training is how to don and clear your gas mask so you can go through the gas chamber with as little problems as possible, and you'll be okay, because the gas chamber is not really that bad at all. Moving on to the communications class that you guys are going to have in red phase of basic training. That is basically just a radio and how to work a radio. They're going to give you one of the basic standard radios. I do not know exactly what it's called, but if you just Googled Army Basic Training radio, that will totally come up. But yeah, you're going to learn how to just input different frequencies. You'll probably call somebody, and that'll be the extent of that. But you will have some sort of familiarization with a basic radio. Now after that, you're going to learn some stuff about first aid. And first aid is another one of those big topics, kind of like Land Nav. But I'm currently trying to think of how I can explain to you guys some of the things with first aid, because you kind of have to have a demonstration to do it. But what you need to know with what you're going to learn for first aid is basically just the major things, right? So in a military situation, you're not going to be getting like CPR certified or anything like that. But in a military situation, if crap really goes down and people are getting shot, people are like, bad things are happening, you need to kind of know how to prolong that person's life. So if they get blown up, their legs are cut off, right, or blown off, you need to know how to properly put on a tourniquet. You need to know how to properly approach that casualty, identify whether or not they're breathing, whether or not they are conscious and understand what you're doing, what's going on. You need to be able to identify any other issues that they might have, to basically you're not going to be like a doctor or anything at the end of this. You're not going to be really, being a medical expert, but you should be able to learn the basics of identifying the casualty, going up to them, assessing them, figuring out what's wrong, which it should be obvious if they're shot in the arm, figuring out how to bandage and patch that up, if their leg is blown off, if their arm is blown off, where and how to properly put on a tourniquet, and prepare them for the next higher medical aid to come along. Now, along with that, you're not just, treating them for gunshot wounds and stuff. You're also going to be assessing them for shocks and burns, chemical wounds and stuff like that, and you're going to learn a little bit about how to treat them for all of those different scenarios. So you will learn how to call in a medevac request to get that injured person to safety and to higher medical help. So a medevac is basically a 9-line medevac. I didn't explain that yet, but a 9-line medevac is basically different statements and things that you have to say whenever you're calling in on a radio that somebody's been injured. So they're just listed different things that you have to say, different categories, where you're at, what frequency you're on, how many is injured, how are they injured, what kind of equipment are they going to need whenever they come to help this person. Are they going to need an aid in litter? So basically something to carry the person, so they're going to need to know that. They're also going to need to know how you're going to mark the landing zone. So if a helicopter comes in, they need to know where they're going to come in at, right? So all of that stuff is going to be in the 9-line medevac, and you're going to learn how to do that at basic training. But I will tell you guys, don't get too caught up in like becoming an expert at it. Now you basically just have to read it. You'll have, in real life, you'll have a few minutes to write the stuff down and figure out what you're going to say before you actually say it on the radio. So don't worry too much about reciting a 9-line medevac from memory. So one more thing that has to do with first aid, and that's going to be drags and carries, and that's basically how you're going to literally drag somebody and carry somebody to safety. So some of these different things are going to teach you different movements on carrying somebody, different methods and ways to do it. They're going to teach you different methods of dragging somebody to safety, whether or not the person is like conscious. Like, so if they can hold on to you, there's different methods on how you can drag somebody. If they're fully unconscious, you can just carry the person. They'll teach you a couple different ways that you can carry somebody to safety, and that is just in the event that something happens. If it is safe for you to go and basically get that person to safety, then you will be able to utilize one of the drags and carries to get that person to safety. So that is it for the red phase training and what you're going to learn during the red phase of basic training. Not too in depth on everything, but I wanted to give you guys a list of all things that you're going to learn. Like in my past video where I talked about what you do on a day-by-day basis, I don't really break down in a different way of what you're going to learn, but I hope this video was beneficial to you guys. If you learned something, that would be awesome. But you know, watching these things, I hope that I'm giving you guys maybe just a slight leg up on the other guys at basic training. So it's not the first time you're seeing things. Maybe you have just some sort of idea of what's going to happen at basic training, what kind of things are you going to learn, and I hope that I accomplished some of that in this video today. So if you guys enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you have any comments whatsoever, leave your comments down below. I will possibly be doing another video like this, just specifically on the rest of basic training things that you're going to learn, because you learn a lot in red phase. Maybe it kind of sounds maybe not as much as it actually is, but you do learn a lot in basic training, and I do want to talk more about that. But if you have any comments, leave your comments down below. Subscribe if you want to stick around for some more of my videos, and I will see you guys later.